Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. You are welcome to attend the second lecture of biochemistry in endo and repro module. The topic of this second lecture in the subject of biochemistry is to study the structure and biochemical functions of hypothalamic hormones. Let's see the specific objectives concerned to this topic, each of the hypothalamic hormones or factors. And at the end we will try to cover some of the hypothalamic dysfunctions. So objectives are clear and mainly concerned to the biochemical functions, particularly the secretions of the hypothalamus, which are in the forms of various increasing or decreasing factors which have influence on the other endocrine glands. Now the next slide, here is some information regarding the structural organization and location of hypothalamus. Actually, hypothalamus is a small structure found at the base of the brain. It is regarded as outgrowth of the brain as neural ectoderm. If we see or we try to find out the working or the functions of hypothalamus, we notice that hypothalamus mainly regulate many body functions, including behavioral attitudes like appetite and body temperature and other behaviors. Mainly, the endocrine functions of hypothalamus is to regulate the working or the function of pituitary gland. You know very well that pituitary gland is itself a well-known, a very well-established endocrine gland, but most of the secretions and most of the hormones synthesized by pituitary gland are under the control of hypothalamus. That's why nowadays hypothalamus is considered as the master gland. As in the previous lecture I told you that it is mentioned in most of the textbook that pituitary gland, particularly the anterior pituitary, is the master gland, but according to the new concept, hypothalamus is the real boss of the endocrine organization of the body. So these are the few points about the location and the presence of hypothalamus, and most of the time we study hypothalamus in connection with the pituitary gland, both anterior pituitary as well as posterior pituitary. In the introduction, we discuss a little bit about the working of hypothalamus and anterior pituitary as well as posterior pituitary. Today we will exclusively focus on the hormones synthesized by hypothalamus, and we have a quite comprehensive list of these hormones. We will see them and we will try to understand their actions as well. Here is the diagram showing the relationship between the hypothalamus and pituitary. From the anatomy point of view, I think you know that there is a contact, there is an attachment, there is a stalk through which hypothalamus is attached or connected to the both the main lobes of the pituitary gland, that is the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary, and there is a tract which is called hypothalamic hypophyseal tract or stalk, through which the communication between the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary is maintained. I mean to say that the hypothalamus release some of the hormones which are carried via the nerve fibers to the pituitary gland, particularly the posterior pituitary. The hormones of posterior pituitary are actually the secretion of hypothalamus. There are certain nuclei present in the hypothalamus. They synthesize, prepare and release hormones, and finally these hormones are carried through these axon fibers to the posterior pituitary, and these are two main hormones I'm sure that you know their names. These are the antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. They are actually the product of hypothalamus, but they are released from the posterior pituitary. So from the site of secretion in the neurosecretory cells in the hypothalamus, they are carried to the posterior pituitary by pituitary stalk. So we can say that the both hypothalamus and pituitary are found as appendage present at the base of the brain in the cellular trichia, as which is the most median depression in the medial cranial fossa of the sphenoid bone, and pituitary lies inferior to the hypothalamus, means below the hypothalamus, and they are both anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary are under the control of hypothalamus. So we have already seen in the previous diagram, and here is the description about this that diagram, that hypothalamic pituitary axis is actually composed of hypothalamus, pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, it means both the parts, both the lobes of the pituitary gland, like anterior pituitary called adenohypophysis and the posterior pituitary or the neurohypophysis, and in between these two lobes we have a third one which is called pars intermedia. So all these structural organizations are collectively called hypothalamic pituitary axis or appendage. As I already mentioned that hypothalamus directly controls the secretion of many endocrine glands, mainly the pituitary gland, also the thyroid gland, mammary, adrenal and gonads, means sex organs. As considering the functions of the hypothalamus, it also regulates the functions of other glands through hypothalamic releasing factors or hypothalamic inhibiting factors. So both inhibiting and stimulating factors in the form of chemical substances, obviously they are called hypothalamic hormones, are manufactured or synthesized by the hypothalamus, and they have their respective actions. Another view in detail showing the connection between the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. This diagram is more clearly showing that there are neurosecretory cells which are the part of nervous system. Actually hypothalamus is a part of brain, a part of nervous system, and nervous system has its own mechanism of working. It's usually control the body functions through messages through electrical potentials, but some of the part of the nervous systems, especially the neurons present in the hypothalamus, they become secretory cells, and we call them as neurosecretory cells. In this regard, we have two very well known examples. These are the supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus. Both of them are present in hypothalamus, and they synthesize, they release specific hormones like ADH or vasopressin and oxytocin. These hormones are synthesized, these are by hypothalamus, but they are carried to the posterior pituitary, and then posterior pituitary release them into the blood. So they are considered as the product of posterior pituitary, because finally into the blood they are released by the posterior pituitary. Sorry. So posterior pituitary hormones are ADH and oxytocin, but in actual fact, in real fact, they are synthesized by the hypothalamus. No matter, you must know the full detail, like ADH and oxytocin are synthesized in the hypothalamus, carried to the posterior pituitary through hypothalamic hypophyseal tract, and then from posterior pituitary they are set free into the blood circulation. So they are the hormones of posterior pituitary, because from this point they become the part of the blood. So this diagram is showing the relationship and the organization, showing the presence of neurosecretory cells by the name of supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus in the hypothalamus, and very clearly showing the nerve fibers passing through the hypothalamic hypophyseal tract and finishing in the posterior pituitary mainly. So this was a little introduction regarding the structural organization, location and general working of the hypothalamus and its relationship with the posterior pituitary as well as anterior pituitary. Now we are able to see the different secretions prepared by, synthesized by the hypothalamus. First we will make a list of them, and then we will discuss these secretions, these hypothalamic hormones or the hypothalamic factors one by one. So this is the list of hypothalamic hormones or factors. These are corticotropin releasing hormone or factors, abbreviated as CRH, thyrotropin or TSH releasing hormone or factors, then follicle stimulating hormone, releasing hormone or factor, luteinizing hormone releasing hormone or factors. Similarly, growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone release inhibiting hormones. The difference between these two factors or the hormones of the hypothalamus is that both of them, the common feature is that both of them is concerned with the regulation of secretion of growth hormone. But the first one, which is the growth hormone releasing hormone, is causing the release of growth hormone. The second one, the growth hormone release inhibiting hormones, is having opposite effect. It block the release of growth hormones. So in this way, the balance between these two factors is important and doing a role in controlling the secretion of growth hormone, which is the secretion of anterior pituitary. Similarly, another pair of hypothalamic hormone is the prolactin releasing hormone and prolactin release inhibiting hormone. So this factor stimulate the release of prolactin from anterior pituitary, while the release of this factor from hypothalamus block or resist or minimize or decreases the secretion of prolactin. And on the same way, we have a pair of melanocyte stimulating hormone releasing hormone and melanocyte stimulating hormone release inhibiting hormone. Actually, this factor has inhibiting effect on this. As a result, the secretion of melanocyte stimulating hormone is reduced. So one thing you can notice from the name of these hypothalamic hormones or factors, that they are actually the controlling factors and they have their effect on some other hormones. They are not directly acting on the target cells or some other organs of the body, but they are doing their action, they are influencing the other endocrine secretions. Mainly they are controlling the secretion of anterior pituitary, but indirectly they are controlling the other organs. For example, thyrotropin, if we consider the example of TSH releasing hormone, the factor. So this factor is actually controlling the thyroid function, because if this hormone, this factor is not present, then TSH will not be synthesized or released or secreted, and when TSH is not available, the thyroid hormone synthesis will be suffered. So this is the information about the hypothalamic hormones or the factor, and all of them are released by the hypothalamus under different situations. So precise balance is required, and complete control of hypothalamus is necessary for maintaining a balance in the working of endocrine system of the body. So you can understand one thing more, that hypothalamus, although the part of the brain, and it is having a great control over the endocrine system. Very small portion of the brain is the hypothalamus, but doing a great role in balancing, controlling, and having a look on the different endocrine secretions of the body. As I already mentioned in my introductory lecture, that the nervous systems, endocrine system, and nowadays as well as it is claimed that immune system, these three systems are working together. So they are supporting and helping one another, and objectives or the main purpose of all these controlling or regulating system of the body is to provide a good environment so that different body tissues can work in coordinated way smoothly, and the purpose of life can be fulfilled or achieved. This is the main objectives of coordination among these systems, mainly the nervous system and the endocrine system. Now we are able to see, or now we will go to see the functions of these hypothalamic hormones one by one. So the purpose of this portal systems in hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary is to supply or to transport hypothalamic factors or the hormone to the respective site. Otherwise, if these hypothalamic hormones or the hypothalamic factors are released into the blood, then it will have to travel general circulations, and they have to pass through each and every organs of the body, and it will causing lot of dissipation or the loss of these factors. So we must appreciate the nature that depending upon the demand, depending upon the need of the body, a special system of portal vein is arranged between the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, so that in a minute amount and in less time the hypothalamic factors or the hypothalamic hormones can reach to their respective sites where they are desired to do their action. And what happened? Hypothalamic release and the hypothalamic inhibiting hormones increases or decreases the respective release of the anterior pituitary hormone into the general circulation. So mechanism of action of hypothalamic hormone is not a big deal. I think that by just considering or stressing over the name of the factors, you can understand that what it is doing. So releasing factor causes a release of the respective hormone. Inhibiting factors block or resist or decreases the secretion of the respective hormone. So this is the general mechanism of working of hypothalamic factors. Now we will see the detail of main hypothalamic factors one by one. Here is the diagram showing the working or control of thyroid gland by the hypothalamus. As I already mentioned that one of the releasing factor released by the hypothalamus was the CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone, and similarly the thyrotropin releasing hormone. So thyrotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus released, and it act on the anterior pituitary to causes the release of TSH. So TRH is the thyrotropin releasing hormone. It is the secretion of hypothalamus. From the hypothalamus nuclei, it carried to the anterior pituitary via the portal system, and over the respective cells of the anterior pituitary are stimulated under the influence of this TRH that causes the release of TSH. So TSH is the secretion of anterior pituitary. But remember that this secretion of anterior pituitary, that is TSH, is releasing under the influence of TRH, which is the secretion of hypothalamus. This TSH now discharge into the blood, and through the blood circulation it carried to the thyroid gland. Every hormone which is discharged into the blood is actually carried to every organ, but it will affect only the thyroid gland, because thyroid gland has some specific receptors which these receptors are identified by the TSH, so that TSH or this hormone combined and attached with these receptors and continue its action, as we have already discussed in the previous lectures under the subtopic of mechanism of action of hormones. So as a result, thyroid hormones is thyroid gland is stimulated, and it releases or secretes or discharge thyroid hormones, and these thyroid hormones are uh, carried to their target tissues. On the other hand, these thyroid hormones may have some inhibitory, because when thyroid hormone is rich and its level is quite sufficient in the blood, then the messages are gone to the hypothalamus that the release of TRH is not required, because our body or the general circulation has good amount of the thyroid hormone. So this is just a negative feedback. So it says that and give the message to the hypothalamus that there is no further release of TRH, because circulation is having good amount or the good concentration of thyroid hormone. So in this way, the balance is maintained between the secretion, release and the transport of these hormones. So this diagram, this slide is showing one of the example regarding the working of hypothalamic hormones. Here we consider the example of TRH, which is responsible for causing the release of TSH from the anterior pituitary. Similarly, on the same ground, yes, we are here. So supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus are the two main nucleus of the hypothalamus concerned to release hormones of posterior pituitary. These are the vasopressin or ADH and oxytocin. Now come on to see the hormones or the factors of the hypothalamus one by one. We know that the large number of releasing and inhibiting hormones are synthesized by the hypothalamus. One of them is corticotropin or ACTH releasing hormone or the factor. It is released under various conditions, and it has effect on anterior pituitary. Under the influence of this hypothalamic factor, anterior pituitary is able to release ACTH. Remember that ACTH or adrenocorticotropic hormone is a secretion of anterior pituitary, while CRH, that is the corticotropin releasing hormone or factor, is the secretion of hypothalamus. So when CRH is released by the hypothalamus through the hypothalamic hypophyseal tract, it is carried to the anterior pituitary. Under the influence of CRH, anterior pituitary releases ACTH. ACTH then discharge from the anterior pituitary into the general circulation, and via the general circulation this ACTH is carried to the adrenal cortex and causes the release of various hormones of the adrenal cortex. These are the adrenocorticoids. Regarding structure of the CRH factor, it is 41 amino acid containing polypeptide, so we can say that it is a protein or the polypeptide type of hormones, and its half-life is just 10 minutes. So what is half-life? Half-life means the time period in which any biochemical substance or the secretion is reduced to half of its amount. So, in every 10 minutes, the amount of the previously secreted CRH is reduced to its half. So, this is the concept about the half-life. Regarding the level of secretion, at rest, the rate of secretion of CRH is quite low, and ACTH is produced in very small amount, because we know that the production or the secretion of ACTH from the anterior pituitary is dependent on CRH. If CRH is not present or available in very less amount, obviously the secretion of ACTH will be slow and small in amount. But there are certain conditions, there are certain situations in which the secretion of corticosteroid is required in large amount. These are emergency situations, and at that time the secretion of CRH is quite high, quite rapid, and these situations are like painful or the stressful conditions, like low blood sugar level, that is hypoglycemia. You must understand that hypoglycemia is a very critical situation for the body, because at a certain point when blood glucose level is dropped further, it may be dangerous to the life of an individual. Similarly, reduced blood volumes or the reduction in body fluids, the condition of hypovolemia is also a dangerous situation. Low blood pressure, the hypertensions, surgery, during surgery is also a painful conditions, and various kind of microbial infections, they may also causes the excessive release, or at that time the release of CRH is little bit high, and effects of temperature, particularly the severe cold or the heat and emotional excitements, they all causes or increased release of CRH, and ultimately the ACTH is produced little bit in higher amount, and the action of ACTH on the adrenal cortex is exaggerated. As a result, the hormones of adrenal cortex are released in little bit high amount. So this was the mechanism of working or the mechanism of action of corticotropin releasing hormone or the factor. Similarly, there is another hypothalamic factor which is called thyrotropin, or the TSH releasing hormone of the factor, TRH or the TRF. This factors or this chemical factor is also manufactured by the hypothalamus. It causes the release of TSH. Remember that thyrotropin releasing hormone is the product of hypothalamus. From hypothalamus, after its secretion, it is carried to the anterior pituitary and causes the release of TSH. TSH means thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH is the secretion or the product of anterior pituitary gland. So in other words, we can say that the one of the product of anterior pituitary, that is TSH, is controlled, its release is controlled by the hypothalamic factor, which is the thyrotropin releasing hormone or factors. If there is a problem in the hypothalamus in releasing the thyrotropin releasing hormone or factors, then no matter if even if anterior pituitary or the thyroid gland are okay, they are well, they are perfect in the health, no problem in their structure or function. But if problem is in the hypothalamus, because the initiation of the secretion of thyroid depend on first release of thyrotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, then it carried to the anterior pituitary, then anterior pituitary releases TSH, and then TSH finally act on the thyroid gland and ask thyroid gland to release thyroid hormone and discharge them into the general circulations. and through the general circulation thyroid hormone is carried to each and every part of the body. So this is the mechanism to understand how the different organs are dependent on one another. So thyrotropin releasing hormone promotes the release of TSH, then TSH triggers the release of thyroid hormone from thyroid gland, and which is essential activity of the thyroid gland. Essential activity means secretion or the synthesis of thyroid hormone, which are the T3 and T4. And remember that thyroid hormone need iodine for its synthesis, and actually it is a amino acid derivatives, which is the tyrosine. So TRH is a master regulator of the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, its growth, its functions, and its working. All integration of thyroid gland is dependent on TRH and then on TSH. So the secretion of the thyroid glands are mentioned here: thyroxine, and which is the T4, and triiodothyronine, which is the T3. T3 and T4 collectively called thyroid hormones. So these are the detail about the working of the two hypothalamic factors, corticotropin or the ACTH releasing hormonal factors, and the thyrotropin or the TSH releasing hormone of the factor. Now on the same pattern we are able to discuss and describe the other factors, other hypothalamic factors. Let's see next. For example, the follicle stimulating hormone releasing hormone of the factor. This is the chemical factor. This is a chemical substance made by hypothalamus. As its name is indicating, it is a releasing for follicle stimulating hormone. If this factor is present or made by the hypothalamus, then it causes the release of follicle stimulating hormone. So it is a type of gonadotropin releasing hormone. It causes the release of FSH from anterior pituitary. Then follicle stimulating hormone, after discharge from the anterior pituitary through the blood circulation, it carries to the ovaries and causes the start of growth of ovarian follicles, and in each month it causes the ovulation as well. Secretion, it stimulates the estrogen secretion by the developing follicle, and it also stimulates the sperm production in the male. So it means that follicle stimulating hormone also working in the male, particularly for the production of sperm. So follicle stimulating hormone releasing hormone is a type of gonadotropin releasing hormone. Another example of the gonadotropin releasing hormone is luteinizing hormone releasing hormone. So luteinizing hormone is a hormone. Its release is under the influence of its releasing hormone, which is coming from the hypothalamus. So it is not LH, it is LH releasing hormone. It is made by hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is synthesizing LH releasing hormone. This LH releasing hormone, the factor which is the product of hypothalamus, act on anterior pituitary to causes the release of LH. Then LH has its own action. So LH is coming from anterior pituitary under the influence of luteinizing hormone releasing hormone, which is coming from hypothalamus. So there is a communication or the contact between these factors of the hormones. One thing to note that gonadotropin releasing hormones promote the secretion of FSH and LH respectively, and they are the key regulator of the reproductive axis. They are released in pulsatile secretions, means in the small waves or the small amount with some pauses are there during their secretions, and its pulsatile secretion determines the pattern of secretion of FSH and LH, which then regulate both endocrine functions and gamete maturation in the gonads. So both these luteinizing hormones and the follicle stimulating hormone are the secretion of anterior pituitary. Both of them need their respective releasing hormones coming from the hypothalamus, and after coming out from the anterior pituitary, FSH and LH has their respective action on their respective gonads or the sex organs. Their detail we will see when we will do anterior pituitary in the, I think in the next lecture, inshallah. So this was the discussion about the hypothalamic hormones or the factors related to control of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormones. Next, hypothalamic hormones or the factors are the growth hormone releasing hormone, the factor, and at the same time we have another controlling hormone over the growth hormone is the growth hormone release inhibiting hormone. So these are the two factors having opposite action. Both of them are synthesized by the hypothalamus. One has stimulatory, that is releasing effect over the anterior pituitary. Under the influence of this releasing or the stimulatory factor, anterior pituitary releases good amount of growth hormone. But if second factor or the release inhibiting hormone or the inhibiting factor is released, if it do its action on the anterior pituitary, as a result the production of growth hormone is minimized. So working is same. Releasing hormone causes release, inhibiting hormone stop releasing hormone and stop release of original hormone from the respective endocrine gland. Another one is prolactin releasing hormone or the factor, and similarly prolactin release inhibiting hormone. This factor has inhibitory effect on this. As a result, the formation or the secretion of prolactin is blocked. Prolactin is the hormone, another hormone of the anterior pituitary, which has action on milk production and the milk ejection. So prolactin release hormone is responsible for the release of prolactin from anterior pituitary. Then after the discharge from the prolactin from anterior pituitary, prolactin stimulates breast development during the pregnancy and also causes the secretion of milk after delivery of the baby in lactating mothers. While the prolactin hormone release inhibiting hormone has resistive action, opposing action, stopping action over the releasing hormone, and ultimately the release of prolactin is blocked. So this is the mechanism of action of the growth hormone releasing and inhibiting factors and prolactin releasing and inhibiting hormones. The last pair of hormones synthesized by the hypothalamus as hypothalamic hormone of the factor is the melanocyte stimulating hormone releasing hormone and melanocyte stimulating hormone release inhibiting hormone. So one is stimulatory and another is inhibitory. Under normal circumstances, a balance of both these factors is required so that the required amount of melanocyte stimulating hormone is discharged from the anterior pituitary, and this hormone has action on melanocyte to produce melanin, which is the black pigment found in skin, hairs and some other areas of the body. So mechanism action is clear. One have stimulatory, another has inhibitory action. Balance is good for maintaining the normal physiological state of the body. Now something about the hypothalamic dysfunctions. Although the disorders of the hypothalamus are very rare, but in the medicines, we particularly in the field of neuroendocrinology, we notice two types of the disorders associated with the hypothalamus. We call them hypothalamic dysfunctions. One of them is the Froelich syndrome, or it is actually the adipocogenital dystrophy. It is very rare childhood metabolic disorders, and prominent features of these disorders are overweight or the obesity in the affected individual, growth retardation, and retarded development of the genital organs. So obesity, growth retardations, and underdevelopment of the genital organs is indicated by this term adipocogenital dystrophy. And this problem is usually associated with the tumors of the hypothalamus, causing increased appetite and decreased or the depressed secretion of gonadotropin. So there is a damage to the appetite regulatory systems, which is the epistate of the hypothalamus. So loss of hunger control or the appetite or the disbalance or the loss of regulation of the appetite causes the symptom of this problem, which are mainly obesity, growth retardation, and underdevelopment of the sex organs. Another hypothalamic dysfunctions is the Lorentz-Moon-Bardet-Biedl syndrome. It is a very rare autosomal recessive disorder, and it is due to mutation in various genes. About 14 genes have been identified concerned to this problem, and these genes are generally or sometimes called BBS genes, highlighting the name of the syndrome. The main features of this problem are the hypogonadism, means underdevelopment of the sex organs, polydactyly. Polydactyly means extra fingers. They have 6 or sometimes more fingers in the hands or the feet. Retinitis pigmentosa, obesity, overweight, and mental retardation. So these are the problems seen in this syndrome due to dysfunctions of the hypothalamus. So this was the description regarding the hypothalamic factors and hypothalamic hormones. Here, this is a quick recap of the lecture in the form of summary. So very quickly, I will go through whatever we have discussed. Like hypothalamus is a small structure found at the base of the brain. Mainly it regulates body functions including appetite and body temperature. Remember that it mainly controls various endocrine, particularly the secretions of anterior pituitary. Almost all secretions of the anterior pituitary or the anterior pituitary hormones are under the control of hypothalamus. So it is mentioned in the third points. It regulates pituitary gland and other gland as well. And both, that's why there is a connection or the communication between the hypothalamus and the pituitary by the stalk containing nerve fibers in the blood vessels. Various hypothalamic hormones or the factors released we have already discussed, and we have a list of these. These are the corticotropin releasing hormone, thyrotropin releasing hormones, etc. All the names are mentioned here. And in the last, we just saw two problems associated with the hypothalamus. One is the Froelich syndrome and other was the Lorentz-Moon-Bardet-Biedl syndromes. Both of them have problem in the hypothalamus, particularly in Froelich syndromes. There is a metabolic disorders in the children. They have overweight or the obesity with the growth retardation and underdevelopment of the sex organ, while in the Lorentz-Moon-Bardet-Biedl syndrome there is hypogonadism again with polydactyly, means extra fingers. So this was the discussions or the this was about the hypothalamic factors and the hypothalamic hormones. We discuss all them. These are the resources or the names of the books having sufficient knowledge about this topic. Okay. If you have any questions, you can contact me through email. Otherwise, we have finished. So that thank you very much. Goodbye. See you in next lecture.